What do these two screenshots from Season 1 have in common? The answer is that somehow we won both of these games. And today, TCU and Houston will be looking for their revenge. In this doubleheader, we've got Week 11 at home, rocking the black alternates, facing off against the 4-4 Houston Cougars. And then in Week 12, the TCU Horned Frogs come to town in what should be two pretty exciting Big 12 matchups for our Kansas Jayhawks, who currently sit at a record of 4-4 in what has been a very up and down Season 2. I think that's the best way to put it. The highs have been high, the lows have been low. But if you really look at it, we are a couple Anthony Escalante missed kicks away from being 6-2 overall and undefeated in conference play. And of course, that's with the major wins we've been hitting on the recruiting trail. And of course, I'll be updating you guys towards the middle of the episode in terms of where we are recruiting-wise. So in the last episode, we had a doubleheader against UCF and Texas Tech. Two very different games, but regardless, we blew it against UCF and absolutely should have won. We were up 14-0 in the first quarter, and even though we didn't play that well afterwards, it felt like we were still in control the entire game, and we just kind of kept shooting ourselves in the foot towards the end, losing in double overtime as they ended up scoring a game-winning 2-point conversion to complete the comeback. Again, this is a game that we absolutely should have won on the road against a ranked opponent. We were the better team throughout this game, but we could not get the job done. I thought Clyde Poole outplayed their quarterback, Ja'Cory Brown, who threw 3 interceptions, and to be honest, probably should have thrown more. The defense was good for most of the game, but in overtime, they certainly came up short and was one of the big reasons why we lost. Our first 7 games of the year all decided by one score, and with our embarrassing loss against UCF, we knew we had to wake up against Texas Tech, so I'm not surprised to see the team coming out and playing well, but I am surprised it was such a blowout. 31-0, really efficient game from Clyde Poole, 20 of 29, 200 yards. So much so we even got to see the backups play for most of the fourth quarter. The run game was led by Clyde Poole. He had another 100 yards there, 8 for 87 and 2 for Joseph Manjack. And then the defense was obviously terrific, pitching a shutout, despite no turnovers and I think only 1 sack. Of course, as I mentioned as well with recruiting, many of our tightest recruiting battles came to an end with players announcing their commitments, and we were really successful landing a lot of good players, including wide receiver Rajon Jones, running back Cornell Teamer, defensive end Devin Murphy, our first ever 5-star cornerback Quantavius Landers, running back Ty Lord, and wide receiver Amani Law. And that doesn't even account for Week 10 because I don't want to show you guys who we would have gotten to sign quite yet. Again, we'll be doing that a little bit later. Now, of course, it wasn't all sunshines and rainbows recruiting-wise. We lost out on some battles as well, but our recruiting class is currently ranked inside of the top 10. And overall, I feel like we have a lot to feel good about. Now that we're at the back half of the season, the college football playoff bracket is starting to become, well, a thing. And this is where we currently stand as of right now with Oregon, Clemson, Texas A&M, and our rivals in Manhattan. The Kansas State Wildcats is the top 4 seeds. Miller Moss of USC, the Heisman frontrunner, with his top receiver, Jeremy Bernard, right behind him. Let's take a look at where we are now, 8 games into the year. I continue to be impressed with Clyde Poole, and obviously things have not been perfect with Clyde's game, but that's just how he plays. There's going to be a lot of highs and a lot of lows with him because he's a very inconsistent player, added on with the fact that, well, he is a true freshman. But I feel like the rest of the offense has really been able to gain some chemistry with him over these last few weeks. Manjack, Rubin, Lamore have all really improved throughout the year. And then the defense, I feel like overall has been pretty good. I wish we sent a little bit more pressure and forced a few more turnovers. But overall, I think the defense has been solid. And then, of course, special teams has been, well, an adventure with Anthony Escalante, who's had his fair share of misses. But again, overall, things are going, in my opinion, fairly well. And I think that this is a better team than our 4-4 record suggests. All 4 of those losses we really could have won and would have been games that we won last year with our experience and high-end talent that we just were not able to pull off this year. So let's start with Houston. They're 4-4 coming into this game. Houston started the year ranked. I don't really know why. And, well, sure enough, they haven't really played as a top 25 team. What I notice here with Houston is that they have no problem scoring the ball, but their defense has been a little bit inconsistent. Now, they are coming off a bye week, which certainly goes to their advantage, and they've got some good players on offense. I think this definitely could be a high-scoring game. Zion Christ, the junior quarterback, very talented player. Patrick Jenkins returns as the starting running back, and then out wide, they've got some solid players here with Stephon Johnson and Devin Williams. Defensively, they've got some pretty good pieces as well. Lawrence, Rim, amongst others. And another fun storyline in this matchup, if we look back at the game last year, where, of course, Houston blew an 18-point lead. In overtime, Houston did score, and the player who scored was a wide receiver named Joseph Manjack. And, of course, he ended up entering the transfer portal, has come over here, has had a pretty good season, and now he's looking for revenge against his old program. As Houston starts with possession of the football, 3rd and 7. Chris under pressure, hit as he throws, and he is sacked. Trevion Ford with the initial hit. I think Dekias Brinkley was there to finish him off, and here is the Kansas offense. Short throw from Poole. It's Isaiah Lamore. He gets it to around the 25. Slow and steady wins the race. Really efficient opening drive for the Jayhawks. As on 1st down, Poole scrambles to the left side. He's going to look to run with it. He's got some room inside the 5. A gain of 20 on the ground for Clyde Poole, who leads all quarterbacks in the FBS in rushing. Near the goal line, it's caught in the end zone. Joseph Manjack the 4th with the touchdown against his former school. Kansas with a quick start at 7-0. Now, the Jayhawks usually start quick. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but, of course, last week, as we saw, this team is capable of winning in blowout fashion. Here's a big play, though, for Houston. Devin Williams gets around 24 yards, bringing the Cougars past midfield. Now it's going to be a 3rd down and medium. Chris looks to throw it, now going to throw it away. I thought he had room to step up in the pocket, try to run for the 1st down, but he doesn't, and Houston's going to have to punt it away. Kansas with it for drive number 2 up the middle. They will not convert on 3rd and inches. That doesn't stop this team from going for it here on 4th down. Easter's in the game at quarterback for a potential QB sneak, and that's exactly what they're going to do. He gets it, and that'll wrap up the 1st quarter. Overall, a pretty good start here for the Jayhawks as they lead 7-0. The defense with 2 stops, the offense with an opening drive touchdown, and they're starting to get something going here on drive number 2. So far, this feels a lot like the Texas Tech game. Very one-sided, but again, Kansas usually plays well in the 1st quarter. 3rd and 9, Poole hit as he throws incomplete. Big stop for the Cougar defense, and they'll get it back here on offense. Chris under pressure, he is sacked, leading to a 4th down. Dylan Brooks and Trevion Ford are there with half a sack each. An impressive start for Ford. He's had a few really nice splash plays in the backfield. Kansas back with it. Poole on 3rd down. He goes short. Lamore stiff arms the defender. Not enough for the 1st down, though, but we're going to go for it again here on 4th and around 4, maybe 3, as Poole calls for motion, and it'll be a fake jet sweep. Handoff to the outside. Johnny Thompson Jr. gets the 1st down. A solid run, keeping the drive going. Now on 1st down, Poole under pressure to the left, runs to the right. He's got Rubin looking to break a tackle. He cannot, but he gets it near the 15-yard line. A good play there for the transfer receiver from Stanford. 2nd and goal. Poole under pressure in the end zone for a score. Joseph Manjack strikes again. His 6th touchdown of the year. His 4th over the last 2 weeks. He scored twice against Texas Tech. He adds 2 more tonight. Clearly, he wanted to send a message to his old program, and I think it's fair to say, message received loud and clear as the tight end Jaden York gets the 1st down for Houston. Just trying to get anything going here on offense, set the table, get some points on the board as Jason Gilliam flies into the backfield. Was that supposed to be a pass? Was Chris going to keep it on the option? Who knows, because Jason Gilliam blew up that play immediately. 2nd and 15 now, play action. Chris is sacked again. Dekias Brinkley and the freshman Seth Jennings are there with half a sack each. And it's going to be a 3rd and 21 for the Cougars. This Kansas defense is on an absolute heater. Chris's pass is incomplete. Kansas is looking to make it 3 consecutive scoreless halves on the defensive end, certainly rebounding after struggling in overtime against UCF as Poole loses 4 on the option. 2nd and 14. Here's Clyde. Scrambles to the left side, and Houston knows they're not beating him in a foot race. There he goes down the field. Can he beat the last defender? He did, but he juked into his own teammate, Philippe Wesley. Still a huge gain for Clyde Poole on the ground. He had to have gotten around 50 there, and that'll bring Kansas into the red zone. This is what makes Poole dangerous, his ability to extend plays and the fact that he's regularly the most athletic player on the field. He keeps it himself on the run, and he's in for a score. Clyde Poole darts into the end zone for a touchdown, and it is 21-0. What a start to this game for Kansas, very much like the start against Texas Tech. They clearly took the UCF game personal because, my goodness, has this team been unstoppable since then. Houston looking to get some points before the end of the half as Pat Jenkins gets the first down, and the Cougars will call a timeout. Now it's a 3rd and 10 here for Houston at around the 35. Zeon Chris alone in the backfield looks to throw it downfield. It is intercepted. Picked off on the play by Basil Wilson. Kansas gets it back, and they might get another chance to score before the end of the half. The pass was a little bit underthrown, and Wilson's able to make a play on it. The defense has done a better job this year of forcing turnovers, especially in the back end, as Poole on first down somehow evades the sack. Still on the run. He's going to keep it himself and gets around 12 or 13 yards. For literally any other quarterback ever, that's a sack. But not Clyde Poole because he's not human. Look at him again. Steps up in the pocket. Scrambles with it. Another first down. And he's out of bounds at the 35-yard line. Over 100 rushing yards here in the first half. But it will not matter because this one is coming back. A holding call on the right guard, Kobe Baines. And a highlight run for Clyde Poole is taken off the board. 3rd down and long. Poole hoping for another miracle. Not happening. It's a fumble. And it's picked up by the defense. That ball clear as day out. And Houston's going to get a chance to score before the end of the half. Corey Platt Jr. was the one with the force. Gardner picked it up. Now, Houston's not going to have much time, only around 10 seconds, so their best bet's probably to take some shots for the end zone or do that. Sure, they'll call the timeout, and they're going to send the field goal unit on. I can't say I completely agree with this. I feel like you got to be a little bit more bold. Maybe go for the end zone as the kick is nearly blocked. And it is good. A close call, and that'll wrap up the first half. The first points that Kansas has allowed since overtime against UCF. And it wasn't really the defense's fault. It was because of the turnover and the great field position that Houston got out of it. Outside of the turnover, though, this was about as perfect of a first half as you could ask for. The defense is playing well. We got an interception. We have about 4 sacks, I think. And then the offense is balling. Clyde Poole with another great game on the ground, per usual. He's been really good through the air as well. Poole really has played his best football over these last few weeks, and I get that Houston's defense really hasn't been the best this year, but still an impressive outing for this team who is red hot. Again, really looking to turn the UCF loss into a positive in the way that we've been able to build off of it. Kansas gets to start with the ball as well. Poole under pressure. He connects with Manjack, who's going backwards. Didn't need to do all that. He was trying to go around the defenders, got a big play after the catch. Did not work, but still a first down. Another nice play here. This time it's Mudia Rubin, who hangs on with it for another first down. Now a 3rd down up the middle. Daniel Heishaw Jr. does not get it, but he is close. And we're going to go for it here. We're not really in punting territory. It's 4th and only around 3. Handoff for Morrison. He gets the first down. Good run by Sevion Morrison. That'll keep the chains moving. 2nd and 2. Here's Poole under pressure. Goes short. Another first down. Breaking tackles. It's Morrison who gets it inside the 5-yard line. And Kansas is going to look to add an exclamation point early in the second half as Thompson showboating into the end zone for a touchdown. Johnny Thompson Jr. with the rushing score. Kansas starts with the ball in the 3rd quarter. They pick up right where they left off. It's 28-3. Don't tell a Falcons fan. Jenkins loses around 4. Wrapped up on the play by Tommy Dunn Jr. That'll make it a 2nd and 14 for the Cougars, backed up at around the 10-yard line. Chris, no time to throw it. He's sacked. Damani Maxson shoots the gap off the blitz. Devin Dye joins him as well, and they are now backed up at the 3-yard line. Probably just got to run the ball, get out of safety territory, as Jenkins gets by Javon McIntyre. Jenkins with a nice run, but it will not be a first down. He's tackled at the 20 by Caleb Purdy. Offense back with it on second down. Curls get the girls. Another first down reception for Moody Rubin, his third of the game. Poole fakes the jet sweep. Play action, looking to throw it. Has an open man downfield. It's Isaiah Lamore. Gets a big gain into the red zone to around the 11. Kansas continuing to march on the doorstep. We'll see if they can punch it in and add to the lead more so. Poole scrambles with it. He is sacked again. The TCU pass rush closes the pocket. Now a 3rd and 13. Poole dances around again, looking to run up the middle. And he only gets a couple. And so that'll wrap up the third quarter. Another strong frame here for Kansas. They lead 28-3, make that 59-3 over our last 7 quarters. I don't know if it'll be enough to move us into the top 25 of the win, but I imagine we'll certainly be in consideration. Anthony Escalante onto the field goal try. It's good. Part of that third down play with Clyde Poole is that I wanted to run up the middle so we could center the kick. And sure enough, the kick is good as the backups have already trickled into the game here for Kansas as Johnson is wide open. Viliami Manupuna gets cooked in coverage. And Zion Chris connects with Stephon Johnson, the Oklahoma State transfer, for the touchdown. And Houston finally finds the end zone. It's 21-10. We're getting some more Isaiah Marshall reps as he fires for Emmanuel Ross, the transfer from Syracuse. And he gets around 20. 3rd and 12. Marshall's pass is broken up, incomplete. He was looking for the true freshman Sheldon Brink. And you know what? We're going to try to kick. Yeah, that was not great. 57-yarder from the left hash is not even close. Let's just all pretend that never happened as Houston gets it back. Chris on second down under pressure, and he is sacked. Champ Tompkins, the redshirt freshman edge rusher, brings him down for a loss of yardage. And that'll make it a 3rd down and 21 here for the Cougars. Zion Chris alone in the backfield looks to throw it. He's under pressure, sends it up deep downfield, and it is broken up. Incomplete. Taylor Davis, who's going to compete to be a starter in the back end next year with the deflection. 4th and 21. Chris lobs it up again. Can he get it all there? It's broken up by Davis once more. So the defense holds, and now the offense gets it back as it is a 3rd down and around 13 yards. Marshall will hand it off for Jazir Tolbert. Breaks a tackle. Boom! What a run by Jazir Tolbert. Throws the defender off of him. Gets the first down. He'll get it back here the next play to the right side. That ball is out, and it's recovered by the defense. The Jazir Tolbert hype train left the station and then crashed. A fumble for the true freshman, but I'm not so sure that ball came out. We're up by 21, but no shame. We're challenging the call because I don't think it was a fumble, and the challenge would be successful. The play would be overturned. Kansas keeps the ball. Marshall on 3rd down, looks deep. It is incomplete under a lot of pressure. Anthony Escalante on to kick, and it is good. That one squeaks through. Good to see him getting some practice from the hashes because that's where he struggles. 34-10, Houston back with it. On second down, Zion Chris goes downfield and it's caught. Big play after the catch. Oh my goodness, how did he just teleport? Gets it inside the 15-yard line. 2nd and 10 now for Houston. Chris looks to throw it again. Has time, now under pressure, and he is sacked. Ben Bieria, the true freshman from Port Arthur, Texas, with his first career sack. Houston on 3rd and 24. Here's Chris looking, end zone, dot! What a throw, and it's caught for a touchdown by the Cougars. And, you know, a 2-point conversion would make it a 2-score game, as crazy as it sounds. DeAndre Love is the one who hangs on there. So now we'll see if they can get the 2. Chris looks to throw it. Short throw. Back of the end zone. It's caught by Stephon Johnson. You know, we came back down 3 scores within a couple of minutes against these guys. Who knows? Maybe they come back down 2, but they're off to a bad start. The onside kick is recovered by McIntyre. We had multiple onside recoveries in that Houston game, so step 1 for the Cougars has already failed. As Tolbert fumbles it again, and it's picked up by the defense. Jazir Tolbert has coughed it up a couple of times, but much like the first quote-unquote fumble, I don't think this ball came out. We're going to take another look at this one as Kansas decides to throw the challenge flag again. And once more, I don't really think that was a fumble. His elbow clearly hits the ground. I guess Tolbert has to do a better job of not letting the ground jar the ball out, but nonetheless, neither of those were fumbles, and the Jayhawks keep possession as Tolbert gets it back to the right side with a nice run. Good first down here for Tolbert, trucks his way to the 20. Good to see him getting a lot of reps today as it is his 4th game of the year. We still want to redshirt him, so this will be the final game he plays this year as he gets it back on 3rd down, gets it to the left side for a few. Now that'll bring back out the field goal unit. We get to see Escalante from the hashes. It's a 31-yarder. He's 2 for 3 today. He's been pretty productive, minus the hilarious 57-yard miss. To make it a 3-score game, it is up and through. So Escalante goes 3 for 4, and that'll wrap things up here in Lawrence. No funny business, no crazy comeback like last year. We get the job done 37-18, and we are over 500 for the first time all year. Believe it or not, we have alternated losses and wins throughout the year. This is our first streak of any kind, winning or losing. We have alternated the entire season until today, winning so by 19 points, although I don't think the score really does the game justice. Much like the Texas Tech game, this was annihilation once again. We dominated with the starters in, up 28-3 going into the 4th quarter, bringing in the backups. And over our last 7 quarters with the starters, we have outscored the opposition 59-3. Is that good? I think that's good. Look at the time of possession. Last week we had the ball for over 28 minutes. Today we had it for over 27. Clyde Poole was really good. Isaiah Marshall, honestly, not so much. Kind of showing why we started Clyde Poole to begin with, who had a huge first half on the ground. The one thing we kind of struggled with was design run plays. Our leading rusher in terms of the running backs was actually Tolbert, with Morrison and Thompson both kind of having quiet games, although Thompson did score. We didn't really run the ball all that well last week either, believe it or not, but obviously it didn't really cost us in either game. Joseph Manjack against his former school, not too bad. 7 for 51 and a pair. And then the defense, or at least the starting defense, over its last 7 quarters has allowed 3 points. And that was directly because of an offensive turnover. It really should have been 0 points. A lot of sacks. Ford led the way with a sack and a half. Interception by Wilson. And a pretty good day, all things considered, with the special teams. Zion Chris was not great. I will say he made some really nice throws in the 4th, but the game was already over. He had negative 71 yards on the ground. I don't think that's particularly good. And then defensively, not much. I thought Corey Platt Jr. had a really good game, and that was about it for Houston in terms of the positives. So with that, we are 5-4, our first win streak of the entire year. Have a fun Week 11 coming up. I'm fascinated by that USC and Oregon game. The Ducks, undefeated, still have only lost 1 game in this entire series. I wonder who that was to, hee. While USC has been on fire with Miller Moss leading the way. But first, let's talk recruiting. Coming into this week, Marcus Ashe, the 4-star safety, committed to the program. We had Ashe visit last week in the win against Texas Tech. Colorado had the lead for him, but I figured the visit would be enough to put us over the edge, and that ended up being the case. We lost out on pretty much all the other safeties we went after this year, so it's nice that we're landing Ashe, a 4-star from Legend High School in Parker, Colorado, the alma mater of NBA champion Derek White. With both of our starting safeties graduating this year, he could get playing time sooner than later. We're going to get another defensive back, corner Teron Jean-Pierre. Again, we've kind of struggled recruiting in the secondary this year. Of course, we got the 5-star Quantavius Landers, but otherwise, not so lucky. Jean-Pierre plays at St. John Bosco and originally hails from Berea, Kentucky. He's a 4-star. Again, he visited Week 10, and Louisville, who had the lead for him, ends up losing out. We lost on a lot of guys, though, this week, which was to be expected. I didn't really expect to land these guys. Rico Ruggins and Enrique Rambo, we kind of just gave up on. We figured there was no chance. Both of them are going to Ole Miss. And then Jalen Casey and Clyde Casey are each going to Missouri. We were in second place for both of them. I figured it was unlikely, especially with both of them visiting Iowa State this past week. Both of their recruitments are very similar, pretty much identical, which is crazy considering they also had the same last name, just spelled differently. But they will now be teammates with our rivals, Missouri. We've got a number of guys narrowing their list down to 5, and we're in first for all of them. Denbo and Hines, the 2 big ones in my opinion. Hines, of course, a top 100 prospect. Arkansas is going after him pretty heavily, but right now we do have the edge. And he will be visiting the campus this week against TCU. So again, overall, I feel like that was a pretty good week recruiting-wise, even though we lost out on 4 guys. Again, I wasn't really expecting to land any of them. We had the 4th-ranked class in the nation with 1 5-star, 11 4-stars. This class is really starting to round out, and we're going to be adding plenty more guys over the next few weeks before the end of the year. So now that we're closer to the end of the season, and most of the guys on our board have committed to schools, it's not going to be as intense on the recruiting trail, but we are going to take Kobe Ellington off. I think the dream is dead. We're not going to get the playing style grade to a B-, and it's unfortunate because if that was not his deal breaker, we would have gotten him weeks ago, and he's an awesome receiver. He's a top 65 player in the class. He's a gem, so that tells me he's going to be a 5-star level talent. San Diego State's going after him pretty heavily, as is Boise State, so I suspect he'll be playing for one of those schools in the new-look Pac-12. We are going to take some other guys off. Enrique Rambo, we're in 3rd-4, so there's no chance he flips to us. Rico Ruggins as well with his deal breaker. I don't see any world where he flips. We're going to keep both of the Caseys on. Obviously, it's unlikely, but it's possible because for both of them, their deal breaker was Coach Prestige, and Missouri only has a B- in that category, so if they struggle the rest of the way, it is possible. That's going to open up a few spots on the board. We're going to put on defensive end Storm Keene from Lake Butler, Florida, and wide receiver Manuel Maramosa from Duncanville, Texas. You know who else plays for Duncanville? Amani Law, one of our wide receiver commits. Maramosa has been just as productive out wide as Law has. He just doesn't have the physical tools that his teammate does. So Storm Keene is not a bust or a gem, but he looks like a pretty solid player. We're going to give him a scholarship, and then Maramosa ends up being a bust, but we're going to give him one as well. And already having Amani Law here is going to do as well, in my opinion, for our chances of landing him. We're going to schedule some visits. Paris Emery is going to come in Week 12 against TCU. Kenyon Denbo is going to come in Week 12 against TCU. As I mentioned, Brandon Hines will come in Week 12 against TCU. Denbo and Hines are both in very competitive battles, and they're 2 guys I really want to land. Denbo is a fringe top 300 prospect. He's a gem. We've lost out on a lot of offensive linemen, and then Hines is a top 100 guy. So we're going to be able to offer points to pretty much everybody on the board, especially those in competitive battles, such as J.J. Addington, who has a lot of teams interested in him. He'll be visiting for this game against Houston. Kerry Folk also visited this game against Houston along with offensive tackle Reggie Chanel. Otherwise, I think the other most competitive race is defensive tackle Jeremiah Ort with Louisville. We're looking to lock up that recruitment over the Cardinals. Going into Week 12, 4-star edge rusher J.J. Addington has committed from Pleasant Grove High School in Utah. This is a big get for us. The 3rd highest ranked prospect who we've gotten to join our program so far, a top 65 player in the nation, and a guy who could vie for playing time as a pass rusher pretty early on. 3-star defensive tackle Jeremiah Ort from Booker T. Washington High School in Atlanta will also commit, choosing us over Louisville. Even though Ort is the lowest ranked player we've gotten in this class by far, defensive tackle is also probably the biggest position on the entire roster, and he could have a role on this team sooner rather than later. In terms of the other recruitment still on the board, we're looking good for Kerry Folk and Reggie Chanel. They both had really good visits with us this past week, and while we did not lock up their commitments, we probably will next week. So 2 more players signed today. I think we're going to get 2 more going into next week. We still have the 4th-ranked class in the nation, and obviously the focus has been on quality, but look at the quantity. Look at the amount of schools who have barely gotten anyone. Even Clemson has only gotten 4, but we're amongst the top of the nation, not just in terms of the talent we've gotten, but the amount of talent that we've been able to get. So Folk and Chanel were in a good spot. I'm going to still give Chanel 50. I don't want to risk losing him because I really, really like him. And then we've got Emery, Denbo, and Hines all visiting this week for the matchup against TCU. So hopefully those guys have a good visit and we can add to the win streak. But as I mentioned with Chanel, I'm doing this because he's visiting Kansas State. I would really hate to lose him and have him flip to our biggest rival. Otherwise, we're going to give a lot of guys on the board a lot of points. And that's really all there is to talk about recruiting this week. Not too many competitive battles. Those were earlier in the year. But let's look around the nation. We'll start with Illinois and Washington, 2 overperforming teams in the Big Ten. They've both beaten Ohio State this year. I thought this game was going to be really competitive, really interesting, but it really wasn't. Illinois kind of dominated the Huskies 38-10, showing Washington that they're probably a year or 2 away, and that's okay. They've got a young quarterback just in his 2nd season. But an impressive win here for Illinois. They outscored Washington 21-0 in the 4th quarter. I think if Illinois wins out at 10-2, you know what? They probably get in. They're going to need some stuff to go their way, but if they win their last couple of games, I think they'll get a spot. Kansas State has dominated the Big 12 this year, and unlike us from last year, they are blowing everybody out in their way. Now, this game against Iowa State, that did not end up being the case. This actually ended up being a really competitive matchup. Kansas State, for the first time this year, looked pretty vulnerable, but they were able to hang on, taking this game 20-15. The Wildcats continue their unbeaten season as they take this one over the Cyclones. But again, they needed a fourth quarter comeback to get the job done. Their defense did a really good job. Kansas State's defense has been terrific this year, but the offense was a little bit subpar in this matchup. Avery Johnson only completed 55% of his passes, and if not for an 80-yard touchdown by Keegan Johnson, I don't think they would have won. Maryland and Rutgers, the Terps, coming off an exciting double overtime victory last week against the reigning national champion Michigan Wolverines, look to keep the momentum rolling, and they will. Much like Illinois, the Terps only have 2 losses. If they win out, they could end up getting a playoff spot. 38-20 over the Scarlet Knights. MJ Morris, this kid's a baller. 2 passing touchdowns through the air. Really, really good season from him, and he has played at his best here down the stretch. Johnny Shepard, meanwhile, back to the interceptions from early in the season. He was picked off 5 times. Any slim chance Rutgers had of making the playoff is down the toilet. Nebraska has quietly won 5 games in a row, looking to make a statement here at Happy Valley. But the only statement in this game would be made on this play by Nick Singleton. Boom! There's 1. Boom! 2. Boom! 3. 4. 5. Look at him go! Nicholas Singleton breaks 5 tackles en route to taking it the distance for a touchdown as Penn State takes care of business against the Cornhuskers, winning this game pretty comfortably, 43-14. They outscored Nebraska 30-0 in the second half. Penn State certainly has a chance to make the playoff as well. The Big Ten is really deep this year. You've got a few really good teams at the top, and then a number of teams vying for spots. There's still 7, maybe 8 teams in the Big Ten who are alive in terms of fighting for a playoff spot. And speaking of alive, Alabama has been resurrected from the dead. They have finally figured it out in the Kalen DeBoer era, or so we thought. Right when things are looking up for the Crimson Tide, they dropped this one on the road in Columbia against the University of South Carolina. So Alabama's now 6-3. Their chances are certainly lessened. I don't think it's entirely impossible, but it's pretty impossible. I don't see a world where they get in. They've got Georgia next week, another 3-loss team. Solid performance from the true freshman quarterback Corin LaRoque, who leads the Gamecocks to victory. Speaking of Georgia, they're facing off against Mississippi State. The Bulldogs are ranked. Georgia is not. Let's see at Mississippi State. Prove to the world that you're good. They didn't really prove anything. The only thing that Mississippi State proved is that, well, they're probably not good. 51-3. Yikes. I have been very low on this Georgia team throughout the year. I feel like they've been a waste of talent. But wow, what a statement by the Bulldogs, who I don't think have much of a chance here with 4 losses, but they're going to look to scratch and claw their way back in, hoping for a miracle. Maybe 8-4 gets you in. Michigan lost 4 games last year. They got in, and they ended up winning the national title. Number 11, Kentucky faces off against Ole Miss. It's been a rough year for the Rebels, just 2-6, but they would get a big win on the road here in Lexington in a close defensive battle. What a run here by C.J. Ellsworth. And that play ended up being the difference. 19-16 is your final in favor of Ole Miss. Any slim chance Kentucky had of making the playoffs is now down the drain as well. Brock Vandagriff wasn't horrible. He's had some bad games over the last 2 years, but he was fine in this one. I wouldn't say he was spectacular. Austin Simmons, not so good, but it didn't matter. The defense holds up for the Rebels as they take it. Utah facing off against UCF. Utah still in the top 10 at 6-2, still fighting at the top with Kansas State. However, they would drop this one to the Knights with an impressive run here by Ja'Cory Brown. And even though I didn't think he had a very good game against us through the air a couple of weeks ago, he was impressive as a runner. Other than Clyde Poole, I think he's one of the best rushing quarterbacks, not just in the conference, but the entire country. 27-17 win for the Knights. They are back in the top 25 at number 25. Brown wasn't great through the air again. Better than he was against us, but he still wasn't all that spectacular, but they ran it well. Miles Montgomery has had a really strong season. He played pretty well in the matchup against us as well. As for Utah, a team who, of course, we beat earlier in the year, that looked like a big upset. They only had 1 loss at the time, ranked in the top 10. but Utah's shown that they're not quite as good as they were a year ago. And now for the game of the week. Number 1 Oregon has not lost the regular season game in the entire series, facing off against the Heisman frontrunner Miller Moss and USC. If the Trojans win, I think they're in. This impressive throw was called out of bounds, but after a further review, it would be overturned. A touchdown for Zachariah Branch, and USC beats the Ducks 45-28. Oregon loses their first regular season game of the entire series. I still think they're a lock for the playoffs. I wouldn't worry, but I think USC is a lock for the playoff as well, and I think they are going to be one of the biggest threats for this national title. Quiet game, though, for Jeremy Bernard. Miller Moss wants that Heisman bad. He only threw him the ball twice. And I think with this win on the road in Eugene, Miller Moss has basically locked up the Heisman Trophy. I'd be really surprised if anybody else won it. Looking at some other scores, Clemson, the new number 1, they beat Louisville 56-0. Oklahoma beats Missouri, the Sooners. They have a few losses, but they're kind of trying to scratch and claw their way back into the playoff mix. Here within the conference, Colorado squeaks away from Arizona State. West Virginia beats Texas Tech, who is still struggling ever since their big loss against Kansas State and then their big loss against us. And then looking at the rest of the nation, some more interesting scores. Arizona loses to Cincinnati. Boise State, they are back ranked. They're probably second in command of the group of 5 schools, I would say, right now. Texas State is currently undefeated. I think they're the only undefeated group of 5 school left. I think it's them and just Clemson. Everybody else, along with Kansas State, of course, I think it's just those 3 who are left undefeated, and everybody else has lost a game. So in terms of their new college football playoff ranking, Clemson is at number 1. Florida State is at number 2. They're only lost to the Tigers. USC at number 3. USC has 2 losses, but I don't see an issue with it. They've played so well this year. And remember, they lost to Georgia Southern to begin the season. What a rebound. We are getting some votes here to be in the AP poll for the top 25 with a win this week. I think there's a chance we are back in the rankings. And then looking at the playoff, Illinois has squeaked in. I said that they probably control their own fate. Well, this confirms that they do. If the Illini win out, they will be going to the college football playoff. Jeremiah Noga and LeVar Talley win the Players of the Week. Micah Hudson wins it for the Big 12 of Corey Platt Jr. Even when we win by 20, we still allow the Defensive Player of the Week in the conference. No changes in the Heisman race, which again makes it pretty clear to me that Miller Moss seems like the guy here, and given his numbers, it's hard to argue with it. In terms of the awards, we have nobody on these lists, but look at Clemson. They have 5 of the top 6 defensive backs. That's crazy. What's also crazy is that when we played Clemson this year, Clyde Poole actually threw the ball pretty well against them. As it stands now, we're projected to make the Las Vegas Bowl against Minnesota, a team who was ranked as high as number 5 earlier in the season. Kind of hard to believe, but they were. And that brings us here into Week 12. We are 4th in the conference. It would take a lot, I think, but we are currently tied for 2nd. It's a 5-way tie, but I think there's a scenario where we make the conference championship. UCF has the tiebreaker over us. We have the tiebreaker over Utah. We still get to play against Oklahoma State next week, and then Colorado's the big wild card because we have not and will not play them this season. And there's a number of teams with 3 losses in the conference as well. So everybody's lining up for a spot to see Kansas State in Jerry's World in Week 13. It's possible that it's us, but again, we're going to need a lot, and that would include a win here against TCU. We know these guys always play as tough. They play everybody tough, but they haven't been great this year in conference. 2-5 in Big 12 play. They've got us and then Kansas State next week, and assuming they lose to Kansas State, they kind of need to win this game if they want to make a bowl. Josh Hoover, their quarterback from last year, is back, and they've got a really good supporting cast around him. Their starting running back from a year ago, Cam Cook, is also back, and they have maybe the best receiving tandem in the Big 12. J. Michael Sturdivant, the transfer from UCLA, is a guy who's got a chance to be a pretty high pick in this year's draft. Eric McAllister is also really good. So it's going to be a challenge for our secondary. We're really going to be challenging our 2 outside corners, Basil Wilson and Avante Dickerson, with those guys, especially with Sturdivant, who's had a really good year, 6'3". He's athletic. I haven't done my full deep dive for the Broncos series for the receivers yet in this draft class, but I think J. Michael Sturdivant's probably going to be a top 50 pick, and of course, in the Broncos series, we need wide receiver pretty badly. So for those of you who like that series, I would keep my eye on him, because he could be a target for us as Sevion Morrison loses a couple of yards. Ryan Yates, the transfer from Cal, brings him down. 3rd and 11. Poole looking downfield. He's got Mudia Rubin with the first down, gaining around 28 yards and the Stanford transfer will bring Kansas near the 50. Good start early here for the offense. Nobody does as well on their opening drives than this team does. Morrison up the middle. He's got blocks. We got to establish the run game. We know Clyde Poole's a terrific runner, but these running backs have been quiet recently. Poole under pressure looks to evade the sack. He will on the run with a dot. It's Moody Rubin again, who gets it inside the 15-yard line. Rubin, I feel like, is another guy who starts games off well and then kind of cools off as it goes along. As Poole scrambles for the first down, he gets 13 yards converting on third down. And now Kansas is getting pretty close here to the end zone. We'll see if they can punch it in with Sevion Morrison. He is short. That'll make it a 4th and goal at the 2. We're going to keep the offense out on the field and go for it. Poole, delayed handoff. Morrison loses 4. Marcus Deal, the sophomore, brings him down, and TCU gets the stand on the goal line. Kansas held off the board here on their initial possession. Hoover sacked in the end zone, and Kansas will score after all. 2 hands for safety. It's the true freshman, Seth Jennings, who gets the first points of the game. So we do score in the end zone. I would have preferred 7 points as opposed to 2. But it's better than nothing, I suppose. And I really feel like Seth Jennings has come along. Coming into today's episode, he only had 1 sack this year. But combining these last 2 games, he's got 1.5. And I feel like he's been in the backfield more, sending more pressure. It took him a little bit, but he's coming along. Poole connects with Moody Rubin. His 3rd catch of the day. A busy start for him. He's got 62 yards as he gets the first down. Poole now under pressure, and he is sacked on 3rd down. Paul Oyewale, he's got 10 sacks this year, brings down the quarterback, and it'll be a long field goal try, 54-yarder for Escalante. This one is up. It is no good. Hooks to the right. It looked like it was accurate. I don't know if it was the wind or it just didn't have enough power, but it bent right at the end, and Kansas offense, despite another pretty good drive, will score nothing. And unfortunately this time we're not close enough to the end zone to where TCU is going to get a safety. Unless Josh Hoover runs backwards 40 yards, then maybe. Hoover down the field, he connects. It's going to be a nice first down for J. Michael Sturdivant, the projected top 50 pick and the transfer from UCLA. Hoover on 2nd down looking for the end zone. He's got his man. It's the other star receiver, Eric McAllister, for the touchdown. And the Horned Frogs take the lead. It's the first time since the UCF game that we have found ourselves trailing. Maybe we're not going to get 3 straight blowouts as it's 7-2. Here's Poole on 2nd down, escapes the pocket, looking to scramble, runs for a first down, tripped up past the 30, a good run for Clyde, and that'll keep the chains moving. Following play action, Poole rolls to the right, looking deep, it is caught! No, it's dropped! That was a perfect throw above the shoulders, a dime for Moody Rubin, who cannot hang on. I pressed X to possession catch that and everything, but he drops it. 7-2 TCU leads. They've barely had the ball, but they have more points, and that's ultimately what matters. Poole on 1st down, rolling to the right, and that one is caught. It's Rubin who does hang on to it. That was a harder catch than the last one. Sure enough, he will make the play, though. Now 3rd and 2. Poole keeps it on the read option, fakes the defense, gets the first down, looks to outrun everybody, and it looks like he will. Clyde Poole darts for the score, and Kansas is back ahead. Another week and another rushing touchdown for Clyde Poole, who continues his historic rushing season. Jalen Daniels tied for the lead in the NCAA in rushing scores last year. I don't think Clyde Poole will quite break that, but his season on the ground certainly has been one to remember. TCU has it back, both teams trading touchdowns. The Horned Frogs looking for the lead back. It's an RPO run for Cam Cook, and he loses 2. Damani Maxson brings him down. I think Brinkley might have been there as well. Back to the original line of scrimmage. 3rd and 10. Hoover will connect. It's a first down for McAllister, who brings it past the 40-yard line, and the chains will continue to move. Following play here for the Froggies. They have it at around the 43. It's another RPO. This time they throw it. It's Sturdivant. Misses the tackle. Gets by McIntyre. Breaks the tackle from Dye. And Javon McIntyre finally tracks him down at around the 20. Big play for TCU. They'll give it to Cam Cook. He does not get the conversion, though, on 3rd down. And the offense will stay on the field. They could go for the field goal, try to take the lead, but they want more than 3 points. Hoover on the option. Late pitch, and it works. It'll go for a first down. It's a gain of around 2 or 3. But that's all they need to keep the drive going. Now at like maybe the half-yard line, they'll give it to Cook here, and he will walk in for a score. So ultimately, the decision to go for it on 4th down proves to be a successful one. TCU back ahead. It is now 14-9. When TCU hasn't started inside their own 5-yard line, their offense has been pretty good today. The Kansas defense certainly regressing to the mean. 3rd and inches, it's a jet sweep. Philippe Wesley gets the first down, jukes away from a defender, and it will not matter. Isaiah Lamore is celebrating as if he didn't just hold on 3rd down. Way to go, buddy. The celebrating is what made that play funny, because it's like, dude, you were the one who made the penalty. And then Poole on the new 3rd down is intercepted. Ryan Yates jumps the route, gets the interception. He was looking for Moody Rubin on the curl, but it was a little bit underthrown. And now TCU has a chance to add to the lead, and they will. Hoover, his 2nd score of the game. He connects with Braylon James for the touchdown. And Kansas will be working from behind late in the first half as it's 21-9. 3rd down, Poole looks to throw it, looking for the sticks, and he will get the first down. It's Joseph Manjack, his 5th reception of the first half. Following play, broken coverage, Poole is an open man deep. It's the true freshman, Dorian Pepper, and he is gone for his first collegiate touchdown. We sent everybody deep there hoping somebody would open up, and sure enough, the right side of the field had plenty of space. And Dorian Pepper gets his first touchdown as a Kansas Jayhawk. And just like that, Kansas is back in the game. We've still got some work to do, but a huge boost of momentum late in the first half. The true freshman connection. Clyde Poole with a great throw to Dorian Pepper. And that'll make it 21-16. A lot more doable of the comeback than 21-9. But still some work to do. Our offense has been pretty good. We're just not executing. We finally got the big play there for Pepper, but we've had multiple strong drives where we didn't score. Defensively hasn't been great. Other than the safety by Seth Jennings, our defense really has not played all that well. A far cry from the last 2 weeks, and we've got ourselves a ball game going into this 3rd quarter. Both of these teams looking to clinch their bowl eligibility. Both of these teams know it's going to be hard the rest of the way. TCU still has Kansas State. We still have Oklahoma State, who's quite good, along with Kansas State. So, on paper, this is the easiest game left for both of these teams and the best chance for either squad to clinch their bowl. TCU opens up with the ball and the lead here in the second half. Cedric Alexander loses yardage, though. A nice play there. It looked like Dylan Brooks led the way. And now it is a 3rd down and quite long. Josh Hoover looks to throw it. Looking deep downfield. It is overthrown, incomplete. And the defense forces a huge 3-and-out. We needed that. Now time for the offense to respond. Poole's pass is tipped at the line on 3rd down, incomplete. No funny business, we're going to punt the ball. TCU has it back, and they're moving pretty well early on this drive, as it's a fake jet sweep. Cam Cook with the handoff, gets the first down, brings it past the 45-yard line. Good start to this possession here for TCU, as they are now looking at a 3rd down. Roughly a 3rd and 9, nearing field goal range. I'm sure they'd like more, though. Hoover has all the time in the world, looking deep. It's nearly intercepted. Maxson read his eyes perfectly, but he was unable to make the play, and that'll bring out the kicking unit, looking to make it an 8-point lead. This one is up, and it is through. So McCashland, fire name for a kicker, by the way, drills the 46-yarder. Not a bad defensive possession, though, because it remains a 1-score game. We'll need a touchdown and a 2 to tie it up. Poole on the run, looking up the middle. He's got Moody Rubin. Breaks a tackle. 1st and more. A big play after the catch by Rubin. He's had a really strong afternoon. Well over 100 yards through the air. He has had himself a day. On 1st down, what a play there by Marcus Deal. Throws down Morrison. It's a loss of a couple of yards. And that'll make it a 2nd and 12. Poole calling an audible, switching here at the line of scrimmage, as it's going to be a fake handoff, looking to throw it. Dances around in the pocket, hoping for a miracle, running in circles. It is caught! How did that work? Threading the needle, Isaiah Lamore gets a 1st down. Poole looks to throw it again, looking for the end zone. It is! Oh, it's overthrown. Lamore was open. Could have been a score, but a little too much mustard on it. 2nd and 10. Savion Morrison to the right side. Whoop! Oh my God! 911! I'd like to report a murder! Savion Morrison takes it to the house for a touchdown. and Kansas is a 2-point conversion from tying it up. We just witnessed assaults on this field. Savion Morrison, known more for his power, but on that play, he broke somebody's ankles. He might have broke two guys' ankles. We got to look at this replay again. I feel like I'm watching Kyrie Irving highlights, the way he moves. Let's look at this. Goes to the right side, and boom! Oh my goodness, number 10, Ryan Yates goes flying. The guy behind him went on the ground. And now we've got to get this 2-point conversion to look to tie the game. What's the play call here? Kansas has been inconsistent in short yardage spots. It's a jet sweep for Wesley, and he does not get it. I didn't feel comfortable throwing the ball, but we haven't ran it well in short yardage spots. Let's do the best of both. An end around. And it doesn't work. TCU holds on to their lead. 24-22, Hoover connects, first down. Nice grab by J. Michael Sturdivant, who has looked the part, I would say, for a top 50 pick. Hasn't been outstanding, but he's had a pretty solid afternoon. Up the middle on third down, it's broken up. Big hit by Basil Wilson. That would have been a first down. Perfect throw, but Wilson saves the play, and Kansas gets the ball back, only trailing by 2. Play action on first down. Poole backs up in the pocket as a wide open man. Whoop! Moody Rubin with a first down. Gets it to around midfield. Rubin with his 5th or 6th catch of the game. I think he's pretty close to around 150 yards through the air, and we still have another quarter to go. 3rd and inches up the middle. Daniel Highshaw will get the first down, and it will not matter because this one is probably coming back. There's only a few certainties in life. Death, taxes, and James Livingston holding calls. For all the improvements that he made to his rating in the offseason, James Livingston really has not been good at all this year. 3rd and 10, here's Poole under pressure, gets through, and runs for a big first down gain. When in doubt, let Clyde Poole cook. 10 carries, 80 yards. He's looking at another potential 100-yard game on the ground. 1st and 10. Poole rolls out to the left, looking to run with it once more, fumbles it, and he scoops it up at the last second. That was a close call to end the third quarter. That ball was on the ground for a while. TCU was about to get it, and thank goodness Clyde Poole picked it up because that could have been catastrophe otherwise. 24-22 going into the fourth. It feels like we just dodged a bullet. We have new life a little bit, and we'll look to capitalize. As on first down, it's Manjack on the jet sweep. He's got plenty of room. Untouched into the end zone for a touchdown. His 7th of the year and his 5th of the last 3 weeks. Joseph Manjack has been an end zone magnet. I guess he yearns for scoring in games against Texas-based schools. We're going to go for 2 once again, try to make it a 6-point game. Direct snap. Morrison plows through the defender. Kansas 1 for 2 on 2-point conversions, and it's 30-24. The offense has been able to score here in this second half. Unlike it felt like in the first half, TCU has it back. Cook loses yardage. Takaius Brinkley leads the way. Seth Jennings finishes him off. Now it is a 3rd down for TCU, roughly around 3rd and 10. Maybe the biggest play of the game so far. Hoover wide open. Nobody covered the tight end. That is about as easy of a first down play as you'll find. So now they have it at around the 36-yard line. Cook gets the handoff up the middle. Boom! Fumble! And it's picked up by the defense. Seth Jennings, who's been all over the field, is the one who recovered it. And I think that was the senior safety, Javon McIntyre, the transfer from Pitt, who's bringing the boom. Better give the running back a double chunk chocolate cookie with that one as well. What a hit by McIntyre. I don't think we really need to review this play. In real time, that was very clearly a fumble. Wow, Cook goes flying. And again, obvious, no debate. That's a fumble. Kansas gets it back. Poole looking deep up the middle. Moody Rubin again. 7 catches, 168 yards today for Rubin. Have yourself an afternoon, young man. A career day for the senior. On first down, Poole looking to throw it under pressure, and he is sacked on the play. Michael Ibukin Oyekede brings him down. He's had a good game stopping the run. Now he gets a sack. As on 3rd and 7, it's just a run up the middle, but Morrison stumbles for the first down. I just wanted to run the ball up the middle, keep the kick centered, but that works too. 3rd and goal, Poole scrambling again, runs it up the middle. We just want to keep the kick centered. We're good with 3 points on this drive. We want to make it a 2-score lead. 22-yarder will go through for Anthony Escalante, and we completed our goal. It's a 9-point lead, and now the defense just has to get a stand, and if we get a stop here, then we'll be in a good spot to clinch our bowl eligibility. Hoover, quick throw, caught up the middle. Nice grab for a first down. I think that was McAllister who came down with it. Both him and Sturdivant having strong days. Sturdivant has around 100 yards. McAllister with the touchdown earlier. There's a big play in run defense, though. Dekias Brinkley with a TFL, and now it's 3rd and 11. Hoover alone in the backfield, looks to throw it, looking deep. It's hauled in for a first down gain. A big catch there by Eric McAllister to keep the drive going. TCU going no huddle. They recognize time is not on their side. They've got to move quick. Josh Hoover winds up, has a wide open man deep. They get it inside the 10, and the Horned Frogs are in business, close to making it a one-score game once again. So it's a 1st and goal for TCU at around the 9. Hoover looks to throw it, looking short. It's caught. It's been a productive afternoon for the slot receiver, Braylon James. 2 catches, 13 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And just like that, it's a 2-point game. Kansas gets it back, looking to chew some clock. They're going to throw it here. Flag on the play as Poole will misfire, as it's low for Moody Rubin. Would have been his 9th catch of the game. But it won't matter anyway because it's a holding call on guess who? James Livingston. If I need somebody to help me cross the street, I know I can count on James Livingston to hold my hand. And that'll make it a 2nd and 15 at around the 20. Poole rolls to the right. He's got Rubin again. It's a gain of 25 yards. And even where Kansas is chewing the clock, they want to get the passing game involved. And it certainly works out there for a big conversion. On first down, Morrison gets it to the left side. Does not get much. And we've got another flag. This one is coming back again. Another holding call, this time on the left guard, Bryce Foster. And now it is a 1st and 20 at around the 35-yard line. Poole calls for a switch at the line of scrimmage. As it's a play action, he'll look to throw it, and look at the left side of the field. Moody Rubin, wide open. He'll take it the distance. His 10th reception of the game goes for a house call. And Kansas takes a 2-score lead. A broken coverage from TCU. I saw Rubin was going to be on an island. It looked like it was going to be one-on-one press coverage, and we were going to give Moody Rubin a chance to make a play, but instead, the corner comes in on a blitz, and that means the left side of the field is completely wide open. Moody Rubin was the first read anyway, but now there's nobody within a 20-yard radius. He takes it to the house, 10 catches, over 260 yards, and a touchdown, and it's a 2-score lead. 40-31, and now TCU really needs a miracle. Their defense kind of blew it there for them. Up the middle, really nice throw and catch. The Horned Frogs quickly call a timeout. They know they do not have time to waste. Hoover on first down, looks to throw it again, has time, goes short. It is caught by J. Michael Sturdivant, who takes a big hit by Maxson. But again, gets the first down once again. Chains move. Josh Hoover alone in the backfield on 2nd down, under pressure, evades the first hit, evades the second, does a good job of not being sacked, which I would say more importantly than the yards, stops the clock. And now it's a 3rd and 10. Hoover looking deep, downfield, wide open. That certainly will do. A first down to around the 30-yard line. Now it's a 3rd and 5 with under a minute to go. Hoover looks to throw it, he's intercepted. Damani Maxson picks off the pass. And that will do it. Kansas comes from behind, down by multiple scores in the first half to win this game 40-31. A 3-game win streak for Kansas, waving goodbye to the TCU sideline and clinching their bowl eligibility. Certainly was not an easy game, but we were able to get the job done. Moody Rubin leads the way with a historic game. I guess the game's actually not over. It is a delay of game. The game clock was behind the play clock, and now we'll kneel it one more time, and now it's over. But as I was trying to say, Moody Rubin with a historic game through the air, 10 catches, 260 yards, and a touchdown, the clinching score at the end to win it. Clyde Poole with his best game as a passer, a career-high 388 yards, shattering his previous passing career high by like 100 yards. I think even more than 100. 4 all-purpose touchdowns, 75% completion percentage. He had the big throw as well at the end of the first half to Dorian Pepper. I feel like that play was the one that really gave us some momentum going into the second half, and then Poole and Rubin absolutely exploded. This team is catching its stride at the right time. And I'm curious to see how we're going to fare, a streaking Kansas team having won 3 in a row against arguably the 2 best teams in the conference, Oklahoma State and Kansas State. Again, what a game for Clyde Poole, 21 of 28, 388, and 3 touchdowns, not to mention another score on the ground, while leading the team in rushing with 75. Through the air, the big story in this game, of course, was Moody Rubin. 10 receptions, 260 yards, and a touchdown. He was unbelievable throughout the entire course of the game, helping leading us to the win. Manjack was pretty good as well, 6 for 61 and a touchdown. As for the defense, Dylan Brooks had another big game. Seth Jennings had his best day as a Jayhawk. And then Maxon with the interception to finish the job. I thought TCU's offense was quite good, though. Josh Hoover and them, they were able to move the ball down the field really well. Hoover with very similar closing numbers to Poole, over 300 yards, 75% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns. J. Michael Sturdivant was really good, 9 for 123. Eric McAllister also looked the part, 6 for 83 and a touchdown. Those 2 guys are certainly the real deal. I thought TCU's defensive line was awesome. Ibukum Oyakode with 2 sacks. Marcus Deal had 4 TFLs, but their secondary really struggled. They could not cover Moody Rubin, and that's the real reason why they lost this game. Let's go through Week 12 across the rest of the nation. We'll start with Utah and Texas Tech. The Utes are hanging on for dear life. They just lost to UCF last week. If they want any chance of making the conference championship, they cannot lose this game. And, well, they lost this game to an ice-cold Texas Tech team who I assume was broken coming into the week, but Utah might be the team who needs repair after this one. 24-14 in a game that was scoreless at halftime, believe it or not. Both offenses really revved it up in the second half, but Texas Tech rebounds after a rough cold spell as Isaac Wilson was underwhelming, and ultimately Utah will not be repeating as Big 12 champions. Maryland facing off against Indiana. The Terps ranked number 17 at 7-2, looking to keep the wins going. If they win out, there's a good chance they make the playoff. They've got to win these next 3 games, though. They can't lose, and that starts with the Hoosiers. They would end up winning this one, 41-35, in a game that was probably closer than it needed to be, but they still got the job done anyway. Tyler Cherry, the redshirt freshman, throws for 4 scores. Omar Cooper Jr., 9 touches, 250 yards, and 4 touchdowns despite the loss, while MJ Morris was terrific. He is on a heater. Again, it feels like Maryland's got themselves a stud at quarterback. Octavian Smith Jr., 6 for 150 and a score. Texas Tech facing off against Auburn. The Aggies look like one of the front runners in the SEC. They've been playing some really good ball very quietly as of recent. But Auburn would come to College Station and knock off the Aggies. Auburn at 7-3 has a very real shot to making the playoff. They didn't really move up in the rankings, though. I don't know why. They just beat the number 4 team on the road. I feel like that should move you up more than 1 spot. I think if Auburn beats Alabama in the Iron Bowl, along with obviously their next game, I think they've got Oklahoma. If they win out, they probably belong in the playoff. Connor Wigman was really good. Not enough for the Aggies, but with 2 losses, I wouldn't worry about them yet. If they lose to Texas the final week of the year, then maybe it's time to get scared. Miami facing off against Pitt. The Canes have been a little underwhelming this year, but they are ranked number 9, and they would win this game at Pitt. Miami's 7-3, and senior quarterback Reese Poffenbarger still really isn't playing all that well, but I feel like he's gotten better as the year has gone along. Big 4th quarter from Poffenbarger and the Canes, and at this point in the year, it feels a little bit too late to bench him for freshman Keon Hokulani. So it looks like they're going to roll with Poffenbarger the rest of the way. I think if they win out, they're going to make the playoff. If they lose one of their last 2 games, probably not. Eli Holstein played pretty well for the Pitt Panthers, but unfortunately for them, it is not going to be enough. Next up, Illinois. Not many teams across the nation are hotter than the Illini. They're ranked number 12. They control their own fate. They're currently in the playoff. They've got to win out, and they'll be good. They're headed to Purdue to face off against the Boilermakers in a game they should win and a game that they would not win. Purdue with the upset, 38-30, and Illinois, who had the red carpet to walk into the playoff with, comes up short. It wasn't at the fault of the offense, though. I thought Luke Altmaier played quite well. 2 scores for Carlos or Gillespie. The defense let him down. Marcos Davila with a huge game. Maccabee with a big day on the ground. And Purdue upsets Illinois. More chaos at the end of the ranking. Georgia and Alabama, both of these teams are fighting for their lives. I don't think either of them are going to make the playoff, but I suppose both of them, especially the Crimson Tide, have a very slight chance. But it is Georgia who would end up winning this game. It feels like Georgia's playing their best ball now. Would have been nicer to do it, in one of those 4 losses. But they win 38-35. They are now ranked at number 22. I still don't think they can make the playoff. Even if they win out, 8-4 probably isn't good enough. But I really want to talk about Alabama, because right when I put faith in this team, they lose 2 games in a row. And it's time we have a conversation about Kalen DeBoer. He has inherited a loaded roster from Nick Saban. And now 2 years in a row, they have fallen short of where they need to be. Penn State is number 13, and with Illinois losing, Penn State is now in a position where they control their own fate. If they win out, they're going to the playoffs, and if Nick Singleton continues to run like this, not only are they going to make the playoff, but they could make some noise. The Nittany Lions get the win at the Rose Bowl over UCLA. Little close for comfort, though, 28-24. Penn State has had its fair share of shaky moments. They've played well over the last month or so. I have a weird confidence in them. I know it's Penn State. James Franklin doesn't win big games. But for whatever reason, I feel kind of good about them. Now that I say that, they will 100% lose their last 2 games. We're going to wrap things up with Kansas State against Oklahoma State. The Cowboys looking to knock off the Wildcats, and they would ultimately get the job done. Zane Flores with a huge game, slinging the rock. Oklahoma State, who's been inconsistent this year, is peaking at the right time. They beat Kansas State 42-38 in a really exciting matchup. Kansas State loses their first game of the year despite a pretty solid showing from Avery Johnson. I wouldn't really worry if I was Kansas State quite yet. They're still very much in the driver's seat to make the conference championship, and even if they lose, possibly make the playoff with an at-large bid. I think the bigger deal here is Oklahoma State winning with 6 touchdown passes from Zane Flores. Oklahoma State's playing some great ball, and if they play well the rest of the way, they could be looking at a rematch with Kansas State in the conference championship. We will be traveling to Stillwater to face off against the Cowboys next week, which will prove to be a really interesting matchup. 2 teams playing their best ball at the right time. Around the rest of the country, FSU stays at number 2, Clemson stays at number 1. Kind of a close win for Michigan. They are able to knock off Northwestern. Clemson's game against UNC was also pretty close. They only won by 6. Boston College 8-2. Could they possibly sneak into the back end of the playoff if they win their last 2 matchups? Those are your Big 12 scores. And then across the rest of the country, most teams now with just 2 more games left to play. The margin for error for a lot of teams, including us, is pretty much 0. Some of the other highlights include Boise State beating Washington State 38-5. Hilarious score. Oregon beats Rutgers 56-14, blowing them out. UCF squeaks by West Virginia, and Ohio State only beats Minnesota by 9. I felt like the Buckeyes were the best team in the country through the first half of the year, and they've been a lot worse in the second half of the year. They have looked vulnerable. This is what our playoff bracket now looks like with just 2 weeks left to go in the regular season. Clemson, USC, Kansas State, and Texas, the new projected conference winners, with Oregon being knocked off last week and Texas A&M losing this week. We are in 3rd in the Big 12, and there is a real avenue for us to make the conference championship. So right now, it's a 3-way tie for 2nd with UCF and Oklahoma State. To think, all we had to do was beat UCF, and we would be in the top 2 right now. Hell, if Anthony Escalante makes his 2 go-ahead kicks, we'd be 7-0 in conference right now. But regardless, there is a pathway for us to make the conference championship. We don't need UCF to lose. All we need to do is win out. And no matter what happens, we would make it. Now, we're playing against 2 very highly ranked teams, Oklahoma State on the road and Kansas State. I'm not saying it's likely. But we control our own fate. If we win these next 2 games, we will make the conference championship because we would steal the tiebreaker over Kansas State. Speaking of, Avery Johnson and Cade Klubnik climb up the Heisman list, passing Jeremy Bernard, with Luke Kromenhoek sliding his way into 5th. As for bowl projections, we are now slated to make the Alamo Bowl against Indiana. If the Hoosiers win out and clinch bowl eligibility, that'd be a pretty fun game, but they're 4-6. They've got to finish at their end of the bargain. And now we are set up for a very interesting episode next time around with Oklahoma State and Kansas State. The 2 of them just played a really competitive game this past week. Oklahoma getting the upset. And the Cowboys are now positioned to make up the playoffs. Even if they don't make the conference championship, they can win out and get an at-large spot. And we are in their way. If we win out, we are going to the Big 12 championship, but it's not going to be easy playing against the two best teams in the conference. Oklahoma State on the road. Kansas State, our rivals, has been one of probably the 4 or 5 best teams in the nation this year. And I'm excited to see if this young squad is up for the test against the conference's best. Hope everybody enjoyed the episode. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.